This is One-on-One. Hi, this is One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato. For the first time, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce Dr. Peter Economou, who is assistant professor in the Master's in Counseling Psychology program at the great Felician College. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
You grew up where?
I grew up in New Jersey.
You admit that?
I do. Very proud of it, actually.
So you have no issues about growing up in New Jersey?
None. I'm very proud of it. Although I grew up in the Jersey Shore, which has a much different meaning now, after Snooki and
Oh, you had to distinguish that, did you?
Now I have to,
They've shaped it. Let's talk about the Master's in Counseling Psychology program at Felician. What is it? And by the way, as we're doing this, cognitive and behavioral therapies, I'm like, okay, isn't that therapy? What's the difference?
So you asked two questions there. Which
I always tell my students in journalism, don't do that. I just broke that rule. Take your pick, one at a time.
Got it. So we train students to be counselors. So in New Jersey, they're called LPCs, so they're licensed professional counselors. They're graduate students, so they already have some undergraduate degree, and we're training them, again, to work in community mental health centers, hospitals, private practices. Now, cognitive behavioral therapy, that happens to be my specialty, and that is just based on thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. That's like the skeleton of it all. Our faculty is diverse, so we have some faculty that approach therapy from, most people know Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
You've heard of it. So,
Did you just ask me that?
I did.
Yes, I also know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You want to do that?
Absolutely. It's like Psych 101 again.
Go ahead.
But so psychodynamic or psychoanalysis,
yes.
And then cognitive behavioral is like an evidence-based treatment. So this is something that is measurable. And so when a client comes in, we're really looking at what are their symptoms, targeting the symptoms, and moving towards some other healthier behavior.
Interesting, because people will say, I come from an Italian-American background. You come from a
mix. I'm a mutt, but Greek-American and Irish.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But
my parents got divorced too.
Okay. Well, my parents didn't. I just did.
Oh, okay.
And I said that my ex-wife came from a wonderful Greek family.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because I often wonder if our backgrounds have something to do with you're shaking your head.
Absolutely.
That how we grow up, where we grow up, who we grow up with, has something to do with the cognitive behavioral issues that am I making too much of that?
No, it's fantastic. I mean, so what you're looking at is really multiculturalism, and this is something that, especially in this area, living in New Jersey, training students in New Jersey, we have to be mindful of. And so this is where Felician College, I felt like it was a good fit for me because it aligns with a lot of the values of the Felician sisters. So things
Describe that for people who don't know.
Well, that's a little bit too... I don't want to get tested and say it wrong, but things like...
the Franciscan values are very powerful.
Very, and some of them everyone can relate to, right? Like compassion, respect for diversity, solitude with the poor.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so our students are really diverse, and we're training them to work with diverse clients.
That's interesting, but the other part of this that's fascinating is, growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, people would say, you're seeing a, quote, shrink. Yeah. Someone would say, oh, you're going to see a shrink. And so what they would mean by a shrink, there would be no differentiation between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a psychiatric social worker, or any of the categories, or a counselor, thank you, Jacqueline, or any of the producers. Believe me, there aren't people in my head. Look, you looked at me and said, does he think there are people talking to him? Yes, there actually are.
Good thing I could see your
Yes, thank God, yes. Right? But here's the thing. There are a whole range of mental health professionals.
Absolutely.
And at Felician, you deal with the totality of that, but clear that up for people. A psychologist is not a psychiatrist and...
Right. I mean, you raise a point that is like the best point. It was something I'm really passionate about. Probably about 90% of the viewers right now don't know the difference. And no offense, but it's just the reality. So they're all very different. And in summary, psychologists are trained to do IQ testing in addition to talk therapy. Social work are trained to do therapy as well as case management. Counselors are trained to do counseling.
Right.
And then psychiatric nurses are trained primarily in nursing, and then they do like special training in psychiatry.
It's all different, and I'll tell you what, people are so fascinated. You have a PhD.
I do.
Right? I'll tell you how crazy it is. When people find out that I have a PhD, they don't even want to know what it is.
Right.
They'll start talking.
Yeah.
And talking.
Yeah.
And I'll say, no, I don't have that kind of PhD. And
right.
they'll say, come on, same thing.
Yeah. I learned that. Yeah, I learned that quick in my training. I don't always socially tell people what I do.
You don't tell people. Why is that?
Well, I get around it in a way, and again, not because I'm not proud of it. I'm very proud of it, but because when I'm out socially, I want to disconnect. And I train students in this. So one of the things that we
train students in what?
It's called self-care. So if I'm out, right, and we're out at a restaurant having dinner or at a bar with some people, and if people know that's what I do, they might come to you, and they do one of two things typically. Not much in life exists in a dialectic or this dichotomy of one or the other, but they either spill their guts or they just get away from you. Right? So,
afraid that you're going to try to
analyze them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Talk about the kinds of students, all different kinds, I'm sure,
Yeah.
that are drawn to these respective mental health fields.
So
Felician.
Yeah, I mean, at Felician, our students are first generation, and certainly first generation graduate school.
So this is new stuff.
Absolutely. And I think what you were getting on before is about your neighborhoods or your culture.
Yeah.
Right. So we have these messages that stigmatize therapy, or we stigmatize the idea that I need help. Absolutely. So what we're saying is it's actually okay to ask for help, and we're in a society that says we're strong, and so if I have so one of the programs we have is at the Franciscan Community Development Center. We've developed a community mental health center where we offer services free of charge for the neighborhood, and it's in Fairview, West New York, and Guttenberg.
Free of charge.
Free of charge.
Why does Felician do that?
Well, because it's a place for our students. So our students are getting training. At the moment, I'm actually clinically supervising the students for the work that they're doing. But we have a waiting list for clients to enter the center, and we've only been open for 6 months.
What a great thing.
And so here's mostly Spanish-speaking Hispanic clients who are, culturally not open to this idea of counseling. Anxiety is not even a word that's translatable in the Spanish language. It doesn't exist, but most of your viewers probably
Sure.
have felt anxiety at some point.
As you talk about this, post-Sandy, people talk about the recovery from Sandy at the Jersey Shore and other places across the region from an infrastructure point of view, from a build your business back, get your home back. I mean, that's incredibly challenging enough.
Yeah.
There are a whole range of things going on for people from an emotional, psychological perspective that not a lot of people want to talk about.
I have an office in Hoboken, one of my offices, and so
Community
Hoboken
devastated.
was hit very hard. And yeah, I mean, there are people who come to the office because they lost everything, they lost their house, they're during storms. And so what we mostly see at this point, which would be probably the best clinical picture, would be what they call PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder.
So similar to what someone who has gone through in war.
Absolutely. So the definition is based on any kind of traumatic event, and trauma it's usually life-threatening, is how the DSM or the ICD, as we define it by diagnostic.
The diagnostic, right.
Criteria. So anything could be threatening, right? I mean, you could walk outside and see something, or watch a bus or a car accident. Any
Right.
of that could lead to the symptoms of PTSD.
You love what you do.
I do.
You know you're making a difference.
I hope so.
And you're also helping, training, teaching a whole range of students who are going into this field that there's a great demand for. Not just related to Sandy, but so many other folks who need help and were either afraid, don't know where to turn, and need professionals. So thank you, appreciate it. One more time, Dr. Peter Economou, who is Assistant Professor, Master's in Counseling Psychology Program at Felician College. I want to thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Come back again, stay right there.
Thank you.
This is One-on-One on Steve Adubato. We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Activists in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, MagnaCare, New Jersey Sharing Network, the law firm of Gibbons PC, Community Education Centers, PSE&G, Sun National Bank. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.